Shalom, everybody. Shalom, shalom, shalom. I know it's been a while, but I'm back, ready to dive in a little bit more information, using the Bible, Josephus. Hopefully I can hit on some little Enoch. But what I want to discuss today is Mystery Babylon and her connection to the old heavens and the old earth, as well as the new heavens and the new earth. So, I like to give honor to the Most High and to Christ the King, and that my information keep going on and keep expounding and expanding. So I want to dive in and let's see the information that can be brought out. So now, once again, I'm not going from the angle of everyday doctrine that you hear. I'm just going to go straight out of the Bible and pull a little historical information. Okay. So now, Revelation 17. Revelation 17, and I'm going to read 1 through 5. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying, Come unto me, come hither. I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit unto the wilderness, and I saw a woman. Now listen to the description of the woman, because this is very important to understand who is Mystery Babylon. So once again, we have to listen to the description of the woman, because it's very important to understand who Mystery Babylon is. Because some people will tell you it's America or the Roman Catholic Church. Both doctrines are off. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet colored, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead, was a name written, Mystery Babylon, the Great, the mother of harlots, the abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. All right, so now, this woman has the blood of the saints in it and the martyrs of Jesus. It's very important also, but I'm going to skip ahead and go to verse 10. Standing afar off from the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, Babylon, that mighty city, for 1 hour is thy judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. The merchandise of gold and silver and of precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all fine wood and all manners of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of most precious wood and of brass and of iron and marble and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. And the fruit of thy soul, and all the fruit that thy soul lusted after. So now, look, verse 15. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, the great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. What a great city. What a city like this unto great. All right, so now we have all of the description of what the city looked like, which would the whore look like. Same exact thing. But one thing first. How do we know it's not America? Because America is a country, and this is talking about a city. All right, so we're going to use just a little bit of common sense. as well as a little geography, dealing with countries and cities and so forth. So, America is a country. This is a great city. All right. The great city had a lot of economic growth, dealing with the bartering system, buying, selling, and trading with other nations. So when she was being destroyed, the other nations was weeping because of their finance that they were going to lose out on, because it's not going to be anybody to do a bartering system with them, or bartering system. So, I said bartering, I mean bartering. So, take that into consideration. So now, let's dive into exactly who this Mystery Babylon is, because it's not America, and it's not Rome, or China, or the Roman Catholic Church. Alright, the first thing first. Upon her forehead was written Mystery Babylon, right? And she was let me find it. Verse 17 says she was a great whore. So, once we go to Jeremiah 3:3. Jeremiah 3:3. I want to start at 1. Then say, if a man put away his wife and she go from him and become another man's wife, shall he return unto her again? Shall not the land be greatly polluted? But thou hast played the harlot with many lovers, yet return again to me, said the Lord. So this is the Lord talking against Israel. Lift up thine eyes unto the high places, and see where thou hast not been lean with. In the ways hast thou set for them, as the Arabian in the wilderness, and thou hast polluted the land with thy whoredoms and with thy wickedness. Therefore the showers have been withholden, and there hath been no latter rain, and thou hast a whore's forehead. Thou refusest to be ashamed. So now, Israel was playing the whore. There was a lot of whoredom going on, and Israel had a whore's forehead. And in Revelation, we see a whore, and upon her forehead was written Mystery Babylon, the great mother of harlots. What is a harlot? A whore. So that's one reason to show you that Mystery Babylon is actually Israel. It was dealing with Jerusalem in the first century. But let's keep going on. Now, where was she decked with? She had gold, precious stones, pearls, a golden cup, purple, scarlet colored. Once you go into Revelation 18, gold, silver, precious stones, pearls, fine linen, purple, silk, scarlet, fine wood, all manners of vessels of ivory, all manners of vessels of most precious wood, brass, iron, marble, cinnamon, odors, ointments, frankincense, wine, oil, fine flour, wheat, beasts, sheep, horses, chariots, slaves, souls of men. So this is what this whore, or this great city, had. These were some of the characteristics of it. And if the people who was receiving this letter, which was the 7 churches in Asia in the first century, they would have automatically known what this imagery was all about. But now, let's go through the scriptures and actually see what it's about. We could go to, first we'll go to Exodus 25 and 40. And look, that thou make them after the pattern which was showed thee in the mount. So now, do we remember that Moses went up on the mount, and he was able to see in the heavenly realm, and he was able to see the tabernacle, right? And the Most High told him, well, he was able to see the temple, and the Most High was told him to, make a movable tabernacle, but use the pattern of the things that you saw. Well, let's look at some of the things that Moses used. Exodus 25. Speak unto the children of Israel that they bring me an offering. Of every man that giveth it willingly in his heart, ye shall make an offering. And this is the offering which you shall take of them. See, this is what Moses required from Israel. Blue, and purple and scarlet and fine linen and goat's hair, ram skins dyed red, badger skin. Look, oil for the light, spices for anointing oil, sweet incense, onyx stones, stones to be set in the ephod, in the breastplate, and let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them. So this is the Most High telling Moses what to have Israel to bring in order to build the tabernacle. And look, according to all I showed thee after the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all the instruments thereof, even so shall ye make an ark of shittim wood. Look, overlaid with pure gold, crown of gold. We got gold. We got the 2 rings. Do you remember in Ezekiel where they were trying to say that the wheels? Remember they were trying to say the wheels were spaceships. Where if you look at look into the olden cultures, and you'll see how they used to tote their kings around, right? They used to have a seat where a king was set up on, and then they will put they will have like 4 little rings, and they will push their little rod through so they can hold the king up and carry him around. This is exactly what the Ark of the Covenant looked like. And these are the rings, but in Ezekiel they call them wheels. They're all the same thing. Has nothing to do with spaceships or space shuttles or aliens or what anybody else want to say. This is these are the holes that they had to push the little rods through in order to pick the king up and tote him around. And you can see that in old ancient Chinese movies, as well as pretty much all of the Eastern culture, all of the olden movies. This is how they carried around their elect. And the Most High is the King of Kings. So this is what they was actually demonstrating. But what else do we have? We got the cherubims. And you can actually go through Exodus 25 and look at all of the things. You got the branches, you got the candlesticks. But I want to keep going. We also can go into 1 Chronicles, right? 1 Chronicles 29. 1 Chronicles 29. Furthermore, David, the king, said unto all the congregation, Solomon my son, whom alone God has chosen, and yet young and tender, and the work is great, for the palace is not for man, but for the Lord God. Now look what Solomon had to get. Look what David actually had them to get for Solomon's temple. Now I have prepared with all my might y'all know my phone don't like it out here, so it's gonna probably cut on and off. So now, Chronicles 29:2. Now I have prepared with all of my might for the house of my God, the gold for things made of gold, and silver for things of silver, and brass for things of brass, the iron for things of iron, and wood for things of wood, onyx stones and stones to be set, glistering stones in diverse colors, and all manners of precious stones and marble stones in abundance. What else? I have set my, what else? We got the gold for that. We got the hands, talents, exalted head. I think that's what all we have right now. But here's the connection. In Revelation 18, we're seeing it right now, though. In Revelation 18, what does the woman have? Purple and scarlet colored. She got gold. She got precious stones. She got the golden cup. You go over to Revelation 18 and you go over to 12. She has the gold, the silver, the precious stones, the pearls, the fine linen, the purple, the silk, the scarlet, the wood, the ivory, the brass, the iron, the marble, the cinnamons, the odors, ointments, all of the spices. You got the wheat, the beasts, the sheep, horses, chariots, slaves, and souls of men. You remember what Christ went in there and whooped them for? Because they turned the house into pretty much what do you call it, a house, a den of thieves or whatever, because they was doing all of that, selling the merchandise inside of it. But all of these things that you see, look, the fine linen, the purple, the scarlet, the gold, the precious stones, the pearls, all of these things are the things that was asked of them to bring into the temple in order to establish the temple. So, this mystery Babylon, this would deal with the temple. This would deal with Israel and the temple. It has nothing to do with America or China or the Roman Catholic Church. This is a first century thing. That's why he was writing 7 churches in the first century, telling them things which must surely come to pass. And they would have understood all of the imagery. But we can keep going because I don't want to stop there. We got the book of Josephus, right? We got the book of Josephus. And within the book of Josephus, he gives a lot of descriptions of the tabernacle that Moses created as well as the temple. So, Antiquities of the Jews, chapter 6, section 1. Hereupon the Israelites rejoined at what they had seen and heard of their conductor, and were not wanting to in diligence according to their ability. So now, we remember Moses just came off the mount, and it actually gives you the understanding. Moses just came off the mount, and the Most High told him to create the tabernacle in the pattern of what he saw in heaven. So when they was looking at the tabernacle, they was actually able to see a pattern of what the heavenly world looked like. So once again, for the people to say, oh, it's not a spiritual kingdom, and there's not a spiritual this and spiritual that, what you think Moses was looking at? What you think Ezekiel was looking at? What you think John was looking at? They was all looking inside of the spiritual temple. They was able to see the spiritual kingdom that people cannot see with their eyes. You have a celestial world and a terrestrial world. Moses had to go up to the mount in order to see this. Ezekiel had to go into the vision state in order to see it. John had to go into the vision state to see it. So when Christ said, my kingdom is not of this world, what do you think he was talking about? The same spiritual kingdom that these guys saw. But let's keep going. Hereupon the Israelites rejoined what they had seen and heard of their conductor, and were not wanted in diligence according to their ability. For they brought, look what they brought, silver and gold and brass and the best set of wood, such as would not at all decay by putrefaction. Camel's hair, sheepskin. Look, some of them dyed the blue color. Look, scarlet color. Look, brought flowers for the purple color. For the white, you got wool dyed. Look, you got fine linen, precious stones, costly ornaments, ounces of gold. They also brought a great quantity of spices. For of these materials did Moses build the tabernacle. So once again, where do we see the exact same thing? We see the exact same thing in Revelation 18 dealing with Mystery Babylon. Dealing with Mystery Babylon, you have the purple, the scarlet, the gold, the precious stones. You go further down, it gets more into detail. You got the gold, the silver, precious stone, pearls, fine linen. You got the purple, the silk, the scarlet, the wood, the ivory, the vessels, the precious wood, brass, iron, marble. You got all of the spices. It's not a coincidence. Okay? This is not a coincidence. Babylon, that Mystery Babylon in Revelation, you know, the one that had all of the blood of the saints, was Jerusalem. This is dealing with Israel. This is dealing with the temple. All of these key words. Look, verse 24. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. What is this? This is Jerusalem. Christ said, a prophet cannot die outside of Jerusalem. That's what Christ said. You had him in Matthew 23 saying, which one of the prophets have y'all not killed? He told them, upon this generation, during this first century generation, all of this vengeance is going to come back. That's why in Revelation 6 he said, they was under the altar. They said, how long, O Lord, before you avenged us? And he said, put on these white robes until the time is reached where, you know, the fellow brothers die in the same manner. But it all was going to come quickly, according to Revelation, the first chapter. Tell them the things that's going to come quickly. So, hey, Brittany, how you doing? I ain't seen you in a while. But shalom. We have to get together eventually. All of us, the old crew, like we used to. But let me get back on it. So now, this is all of the things that was held in the antiquities of the Jews. These are the things that Moses required them to bring through instructions of the Most High. And you can keep, you can actually keep going on. You got exactly how it's set up. So if you want to know what the temple in heaven looked like, or what the temple in heaven looks like in the spiritual realm, all you got to do is go to Josephus chapters, Antiquities of the Jews, book 3, chapter 6. It gives in detail what the heavenly kingdom, what the heavenly temple, what heavenly Jerusalem looks like in detail. And then, look, you can go on. It has once again, it got the purple, the scarlet, the blue, the fine linen, the embroidered, the ornaments, and you got to go through all of this stuff. And I want to break down something else in just a second. Give me one more second, and then we're going to break down this new heavens and new earth, because a lot of people don't understand what that is either. So we're going to break that down. But this is War of the Jews in Josephus, book 5, chapter 5, a description of the temple. Now this temple, as I have already said, was built upon a strong hill. At first the plain at the top was hardly sufficient for the holy house and the altar, for the ground about it was very uneven and like a precipice. Let's see if we can get some descriptions. Let's see. We got that court. I just want to get what it looks like. The Greeks, we got the Greek letters on it. We got the that's on it. I guess we can do a little of this. It has gold and silver. We got the gold and silver right here. The silver and gold. We got more gold. Here we go right here. It was a Babylonian curtain embroidered with blue and fine linen and scarlet and purple, and of the texture was truly wonderful, nor was the mixture of colors without its mystical interpretation, but was a kind of image of the universe. All right, so now let's talk about the new heavens and new earth that the Most High said he was going to make. Once again, let's talk about the new heavens and the new earth that the Most High said that he was going to make. Because people think it's physical heaven and physical earth. The Most High had them worship him in a temple environment. And it was just a shadow of how they was worshiping him in the heavenly environment. So, let's see what he gave mankind. Now, the mixtures of colors without its mystical interpretation was a kind of image of the universe. For by the scarlet, now, once again, each one of these colors meant something. So now we're going to go through what they meant. For by the scarlet, there seemed to be enigmatically signified fire. So the scarlet represented fire, and by the fine flecks, the earth. So we have in the temple, we have fire, we have earth. By the blue, the air, we have air. And by the purple, the sea, we have sea. Two of them having their colors, the foundation of the resemblance. But the fine flecks in the purple have their own origin for that foundation. The earth producing the one and the sea the other. So we have the earth, we have the sea, we have fire, we have air. The curtain was embroidered upon it with its mystical heavens. Upon it that was mystical in the heavens, except in all of the 12 signs representing living creatures. So now, in the temple, once again, in the temple, the Most High cannot put a universe on the earth and say, worship me in the universe. So no, what did he do? He does what he always does. He gives them a pattern. He gives them something symbolic so they can use that symbolic thing to worship him. So just as he was being worshiped in heaven, in the true temple, he was being worshiped on earth in the symbolic temple. So the temple represented fire, air, earth, sea, in the heavens. So what do you think when he said, I create new heavens and earth, and in Revelation, and I looked, there was no more sea? What do you think he's talking about? Once again, Revelation is about the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. People try to tell you it's about some kind of future event. They add the EU in there about some 10 horns and something about America and China and Russia. They even throw in the Pope and Donald Trump. But no. This is a Jewish book, a Hebrew book, about things that Hebrews would have understood around the time the book was being written. The book was written to a specific audience, going through a specific thing at a specific time. So the 7 churches in Asia would have understood all of this imagery. It's not for us today in 2019. We're supposed to learn from it and enjoy the new heavens and the new earth, which came to tabernacle with mankind. But it's a spiritual kingdom. We can't see it with these eyes. We know it's here because we got to trust the words of the Most High. That's why the new covenant has a lot to do with faith. He took all of the works out. No more law that you have to do something physical in order to be in covenant or to know the Most High. It's all through faith now. He said it was going to happen. You got to believe it. But now, once again, what are these new heavens and the new earth? Let's keep going on. But still, the 60 cubits and the length was divided again, and the first part of it cut of the 40 cubits. Let's skip down. In 3 things that were very wonderful and famous amongst all mankind: the candlestick, the table of showbread, and the altar of incense. Now, the 7 lamps signified the 7 planets. For so many there were springing out of the candlestick. Now the 12 loaves that were upon the table signified the circle of the zodiac and the years. And the altar of incense by its 13 kinds of sweet smelling spices. How many? 13 kinds of sweet smelling spices. That's why you see all of those spices in Revelation. Which the sea replenished it, signified that God is the possessor of all things that are both in the uninhabitable and habitable parts of the earth, and that they are all to be dedicated to his use. So that whole temple system that they had all represented creation. It's all creation. You have mankind going inside of the creation, the universe, the planets. You have the sea. You have all of the elements that the Most High used to create the earth. You have it all in one system. And mankind is able to go inside of that system and worship the Father. That was the whole point. So the new heavens and the new earth was them destroying the old temple that was on earth and the temple of heaven coming down to dwell and tabernacle with mankind. That's the new heavens and the new earth. It's not no literal planets. This world being destroyed and he's bringing it right back together. And that doesn't even make sense when you think about it. But that's what the new heavens and the new earth is. And at the same time, this is what Mystery Babylon is talking about. The earthly temple. So once again, once the earthly temple got destroyed, which is Mystery Babylon, the heavenly temple, or the new heavens and earth, was able to come down and tabernacle with mankind. This all happened during 70 AD, the destruction of the temple. We cannot get around it. So now, I also want to go back, if I can. Let me find it real fast. I want to go back to the temple in the antiquities of the Jews. This is what Moses, because we know that the temple came later. We know that Moses first started with the tabernacle. So let's get the point behind the tabernacle. It's Antiquities of the Jews, book 3, chapter 6, and I'm just going to start at section 4. As for the inside, Moses parted its length into 3 partitions. So do we remember in the scriptures they was breaking down the walls of partition? Do we remember that? They're breaking down the walls of partition. Now, does this make a little bit more sense? Because at one point, the Jews and the Gentiles were separated by a wall of partition inside the temple. So this is deeper than the northern and the southern king coming back together. The northern and southern kingdom coming back together. It's deeper than that. But as for the inside, Moses parted its length, and we got there, and at the distance of 10 cubits from the most secret end, Moses placed 4 pillars. So once again, we're having a look inside of the kingdom of heaven, what the kingdom of heaven actually looked like, what the city, heavenly city, actually looked like. So what do y'all think occurred after Moses came down from looking into the heavenly city? Do you think that he viewed earth the same way? Now, ain't this the reason why he can say that I am a pilgrim on this planet seeking a country? I'm seeking a better country. He had faith. He was able to see it afar off. He no longer cared about no promised land in Canaan. He could care less. I mean, would you care about a promised land in Canaan after you just saw the heavenly Jerusalem, after you just saw all of the heavenly works, and you know that once you make it there, you're going to be with the Father? No more pain, no more crying, no more any of this stuff. Don't you think you'll look at mankind a little bit differently? That's why when you come down, he can tell them, man, these idiots, they don't understand what the Father has in store for them. That's why he can be a little bit more angrier when he came off the mountain than when he went onto the mountain, because he has a different perspective on how the world operates now. The Most High was able to give him a front and center seat. So he wasn't caring about no promised land on this planet. So when he came off the mountain, he's talking about a whole different promised land than what other people are thinking that he's talking about. Y'all got to understand that. But let's see what it says. Now, room within those pillars was the most holy place, but the rest of the room was the tabernacle, which was open for the priest. However, this proportion of the measures of the tabernacle, yes ma'am, Miss Nancy, indeed, proved to be an imitation. Once again, this proportion of the measures of the tabernacle proved to be an imitation of the system of the world. For that third part thereof, which was within the four pillars, to which the priests were not admitted, as it were, a heaven peculiar to God. See, they can go into that part because that represented heaven. And who can only be in heaven? God. So they can access that part of the tabernacle. But the space of the 20 cubits is, as it were, sea and land. So then in the tabernacle, doing the measurements, you have that little space, those 20 cubits. It represented the sea and the land on which men live. And so this part is peculiar to the priest only. So once again, Israel was supposed to be priest, right? In the beginning, they were supposed to be the priest of the Most High. And then they did what they did, so he just chose the Levites to be the priest. But that's the reason why they can only go into certain parts of the tabernacle when Moses had it. Because it symbolized this is where mankind dwells. Mankind dwells in the sea. Well, we use the sea. We dwell on land. You can't go into this heavenly throne, this heavenly realm. So we can only have the symbolism, because we can't experience it. So the Most High equipped us with the tools in order to understand symbolically what it meant. So now, but placed pillars of gold and stood on bases of brass, and number 7. And they're still saying that Christ's going to leave the holy place and come to live here on. Right, Brother Matthew. Right, indeed. So they are saying that Christ is going to leave his heavenly throne, the heavenly temple, the heavenly place, the heavenly Jerusalem, where it's nothing but perfection. Nothing but perfection. And he's going to leave all of that perfection to come and see people do evil and kick around dirt and dust. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think when he came and he resurrected up to the heavens, and he came that last time with judgment in order to open up the kingdom for all those dead souls, as well as for us to live in heavenly places and to reign along with him on earth, he don't need to come back no more. I mean, would you? Would you want to come back after that? Leave me in the heavenly realm. Hey, we can tabernacle on earth all day, but leave me in the spiritual realm. I don't need to see the dirt. I don't need to see the mosquitoes no more. I'm good. But let's see what else it says. But then they spread over the tabernacle veils of fine linen and purple and blue and scarlet colors embroidered. So, once again, I know, I'm a teacher, y'all. This is how I do. I like beating points in. I like beating it in your head until you just going to deny the word. Because you're going to have to literally deny the word. That's how I teach the way I teach. You're going to have to deny it. So, you see the purple, the scarlet, the gold, the precious stones, and all the other things right there, dealing with Mystery Babylon, in Revelation 17. And then in Revelation 18, it goes into more detail on the gold, the precious, the ivory, the matters, the blah, you done seen it. We done went over it several times. But this is talking about the temple. This is dealing with Jerusalem, Israel. Has nothing to do with America. Mystery Babylon has nothing to do with America. But we got the purple, the blue, the scarlet colors embroidered. The first veil, the 10 cubits, and kept the most holy place concealed within. All right, they spread over the pillars. So they spread that veil over the pillars that was holding up some of the temple. And it kept the most holy place concealed within. And this veil that which made this part not visible to any. Now the whole temple was called the holy place, But that part which was within the 4 pillars, and to which none were omitted, was called the Holy of Holies. This veil was very ornamental and embroidered with all sorts of flowers which the earth produced, and there were interwoven into it all sorts of varieties that might be an ornament, except the forms of animals. Once again, you remember that was one of the laws, right? You cannot make any idols dealing with the animals in the sea below or the things in the heavenly realm. So the Most High he's sticking to his words and make sure that in his tabernacle that he gave to Moses, that they could not have any idols of animals also. They cannot have any imagery of animals. But notice he had all kind of flowers around it. It represents his creation. And you can see it all within that tabernacle. You have the creation. You have all 7 days of creation inside of the tabernacle. All 7 days, including the rest. It was the, let's see, another veil there was covered with 5 pillars and were at the entrance. At the corner of every pillar, a ring retained, and the top downwards half the depth of pillars. Over there, let's see, we got the rings, fine linen. I think y'all got it. They didn't already, they're done with me right now. So, I think y'all got it. But y'all see, you got the curtains. Look, curtains at a distance, for seem not to all differ from the color of the sky. You got, man, it's so crazy. And then you got the cherubims right there. And then you got the Ark of the Covenant and all of that stuff, which the Ark of the Covenant actually represented. It's like a miniature temple, actually. The Ark of the Covenant was like a miniature throne room where they carried the Ark of the Covenant around. You know, they put the Ark of the Covenant on their shoulders and carried it around, right? The Levites did. So guess what they saw in the vision? They saw that the Most High was being carried around by the angels. So it was just a representation of how the Most High was being carried around as a king. That's what they was doing with the Ark of the Covenant. So, I mean, it's all there. But hopefully we see that the new heavens, and I actually just want to take y'all into Enoch. I just don't have time with it. But y'all can look it up. Enoch chapter 14, starting at verse 8 all the way through verse 25, where he was able to see heaven. He was able to go see the throne room and all of that stuff also. And he was able to explain how some of it looked. You can go inside of Revelation in the beginning. Remember, he stepped out, he saw a sea of glass. They all saying the same exact thing. It's all represent the temple. So, hopefully y'all understand now that the new heavens and the new earth, which was created, was the heavenly temple coming down. It was the heavenly temple coming down. It's not a literal heaven and earth being created. The Most High does not think like we think. He's way above us in every aspect of life. So you cannot use you cannot use a westernized mind in order to think that you know what the Most High was doing when he was only dealing with Eastern people. And that's why they have so much symbolism, because the Most High could only work with them with symbols, because they cannot attain all of the stuff. He had to give them things to look for. He couldn't just tell them point blank, because they weren't going to be able to comprehend it. So, I like to say, hopefully we understand who Mystery Babylon is now, as well as the new heavens and the new earth, all in one setting, because they work hand in hand with each other. You couldn't have one without the other. Babylon had to fall. Mystery Babylon had to fall, which was the old heavens and earth being destroyed, the old covenant. I mean, it all goes together. The old heavens and the earth, the old covenant, the old order of doing things. And then you got the destruction. And then after that, you have the Messianic age, or the David's age, or the kingdom age, the new covenant, the Christian age, the everlasting kingdom. All of that stuff, it all goes together. What some is doing now is they're putting spiritual Christ on their physical level. Amen, Brother Matthew. And we can't do that. A spiritual being and we want him physical. But not only do we want him physical, we want all of the gifts physical. We want all of the reign physical. We want all of the dominion physical. We want the not dying physical. We want everything physical. And Christ let them know, my kingdom ain't of this world. The kingdom was within you. I mean, what more things could he have given them to let them know that y'all were too carnal in order to understand what my Father had been saying through all of the prophets? He been saying this through all of the prophets, and y'all all been thinking it was on some carnal stuff. It's always been on some spiritual stuff. This whole promised land, Canaan, land of Canaan things, it was just symbolic for the true promised land. But y'all couldn't get it through y'all mind, and we still can't get it through our mind. We think it's all physical. I don't want to talk about spiritual. I hear that all the time. Well, you don't want to talk about the Bible then. But hey, I love y'all. I got to go. I like to say shalom. Thank y'all for listening, and I'll be back tomorrow. And we have Bible class tonight on 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on the app Zoom. Just check out my Facebook page. I will link up. We say everything has been fulfilled because the Bible say all things have been fulfilled. We're not waiting on Christ to return no more. We're all embracing the new covenant and enjoying life until we meet the King face to face. I like to say, love y'all and shalom.